The coffee cup shattered against the marble floor. Emma didn't flinch. She just stared at the man in the $1,000 suit who'd been terrorizing her co-workers for the past 10 minutes and said the words nobody had ever dared say to Dante Moretti, "Clean it up yourself." The entire coffee shop went silent. His bodyguards reached for their guns. But Dante, the most feared man in New York, the king who made grown men weep with a single look, did something that shocked everyone in that room. He smiled. And that smile would change everything. This is a story about power, pride, and a love that breaks every rule. If you want to see how a single moment of defiance sparked something neither of them could control, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every view brings this story to more people who need to hear it. Emma's hands were raw from scrubbing, her second shift of the day at Corner Brew, a cramped coffee shop in Lower Manhattan that smelled like burnt espresso and broken dreams. 3 jobs. That's what it took to keep the lights on in her studio apartment in Queens, to keep formula in the cabinet for Lily, her 2-year-old daughter who nobody knew existed. She'd learned early, show weakness and the world devours you. "Large black coffee, no sugar," she called out, not looking up from the register. The line had been brutal all morning, tourist season flooding the streets with people who thought $2 was an appropriate tip. "You should look at your customers when you speak to them." The voice cut through the coffee shop chatter like a blade through silk, low, controlled, dangerous. Emma's head snapped up. The man standing before her didn't belong in Corner Brew. He belonged on magazine covers, in boardrooms, in places where power had a physical presence. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent. Sharp jaw, dark eyes that seemed to see through everything, and an expression that said he'd never been told no in his entire life. Behind him stood 3 men in black. Not customers. Bodyguards. Something cold slithered down Emma's spine. "Large black coffee, no sugar," she repeated, her voice flat. "That'll be $4.50. His eyes narrowed slightly. Around them, conversations had died. Her co-worker Jenny had gone pale, gripping the espresso machine like it might save her. "Do you know who I am?" His accent had the faintest trace of Italian, smooth and lethal. "Someone who's holding up my line," Emma said, and she watched something flicker across his face. Surprise, maybe, or the beginning of anger. $4.50, or step aside. 4-3 heartbeats. Nobody moved. Then he pulled out a leather wallet, extracted a $50 bill, and placed it on the counter with deliberate slowness. "Keep the change." His eyes never left hers. "And your attitude." Emma took the bill, made his coffee with hands that didn't shake despite her racing heart, and slid it across the counter. "Have a nice day." She thought that would be the end of it. She was wrong. Dante Moretti came back the next day. And the day after that. And the day after that. Always at 2 p.m., always ordering the same large black coffee, always leaving a $50 bill. He never spoke beyond his order. But he watched her, with an intensity that made her skin prickle and her defenses spike higher. "Do you know who that is?" Jenny whispered on day 4, her voice shaking. "That's Dante Moretti. The Dante Moretti. My cousin works in the Diamond District. Says Moretti owns half of Manhattan. The other half is too scared to admit he doesn't own them yet." Emma's blood went cold, but she forced her expression to stay neutral. "He's just another customer." "Just another. Emma, people don't talk to him like you did. People don't even look at him wrong without consequences." But nothing happened. No consequences came. Just Dante Moretti, every day at 2 p.m., watching her with those dark, unreadable eyes. On day 7, everything changed. Emma was cleaning tables when 3 men in leather jackets walked in. Not Moretti's men. Something about them was wrong, coiled tight like springs about to snap. They didn't order. They just stood near the door, eyes locked on her. The lead one smiled, and it was all teeth. "Emma Carter?" Her heart stopped. Nobody here knew her last name. She'd been so careful. "Wrong person," she said, but her voice cracked. "Your baby daddy wants his money, sweetheart. $50,000. We're here to collect." Lily's father. A mistake from another lifetime, a man who'd vanished the second she showed him the positive pregnancy test. Now he'd sold her debt to loan sharks. "I won't let you trade hundreds of lives for mine. There has to be another way." "There isn't." Dante's control shattered, emotion flooding his face. "Don't you understand? I spent 15 years building walls, turning myself into something untouchable, telling myself I didn't need anyone. Then you walked into my life with your coffee-stained apron and your attitude, treating me like I was nobody special, and those walls came crashing down." His other hand came up to cup her face. "I love you, Emma Carter. And I will not lose you." Tears burned Emma's eyes. "Then don't lose yourself either." For a long moment they stood there, the weight of impossible choices pressing down on them. Then Emma made a decision. "What if I went with him?" "Absolutely not. Listen to me. What if I offered myself in exchange? Me, working for Volkov, giving him the information he wants about your operations. He gets leverage over you without the war, you get to keep your soul, and Lily stays safe with people you trust." "No." Dante's voice was absolute. "I'm not trading you for peace. I'm not, Emma. I can't. You have to." She pulled his face down to hers, their foreheads touching. "Because I love you too, you impossible, infuriating man. And I won't watch you destroy yourself to save me." Dante made a sound like something breaking, and then his lips were on hers, desperate, claiming, goodbye and forever wrapped into one kiss. Emma kissed him back, pouring everything she couldn't say into it, memorizing the feel of him, the taste of him. When they broke apart, both were shaking. "I have a better idea," Dante said roughly. "But you have to trust me." The meeting with Volkov was set for noon in an abandoned warehouse in Red Hook. Dante walked in alone, as requested, his hands visible and empty. Alexei Volkov was a bull of a man, all muscle and malice, with dead eyes and a smile that promised violence. Around him stood 20 armed men. "Moretti, you actually came. I'm here to negotiate." Dante's voice was calm. "There's nothing to negotiate. You give me what I want, or the girl and her bastard die." Volkov's smile widened. "How does it feel, Dante? To finally care about something? To have a weakness?" "It feels," Dante said, "like I finally have something worth fighting for." He raised his hand, and the warehouse exploded with sound. Federal agents poured in from every direction, FBI and Homeland Security, weapons drawn and voices shouting. Volkov's men went for their guns, but they were outmatched, outmaneuvered, already surrounded. Volkov's face went purple with rage as agents tackled him to the ground. "What did you do?" Dante crouched down, his smile cold and satisfied. "I gave them everything. Every transaction, every name, every crime you've committed for the past decade. See, I've been preparing for this moment since the day I took over my father's business, collecting insurance, building evidence, waiting for the right time to use it." He leaned closer. "You threatened the woman I love. That made it the right time. You just destroyed your own empire." "No," Dante said. "I destroyed the criminal parts of it. The legitimate businesses stay. The illegal operations? I handed them all over, yours and mine. Clean slate. New beginning." As Volkov was dragged away, screaming threats, Dante walked out of the warehouse into bright sunlight. FBI agents nodded to him as he passed. Deal honored, immunity granted, new life waiting. Emma stood beside his car, Lily in her arms, tears streaming down her face. Dante walked to them, wrapped them both in his arms, and held on like he'd never let go. "You gave up everything," Emma whispered against his chest. "No," he corrected, pulling back to look at her face. "I gave up power and blood money. What I gained." He touched Lily's cheek, then Emma's. "That's everything." 5 years later, Emma stood in the kitchen of their home in Connecticut. Not a mansion, something smaller, warmer, with a garden Lily loved and neighbors who waved hello without fear. Dante walked in from his study, legitimate business documents in hand. He ran a security consulting firm now, using his knowledge of criminal operations to help businesses protect themselves. Legal, honest, clean. Lily's asked, "I think whatever you want from me is more than coffee and attitude." Dante moved closer, and she should have stepped back, should have maintained distance. But she didn't. Couldn't. "You're right," he said quietly. "I am dangerous. I've done things that would make you run screaming. But with you—" His hand lifted, stopped inches from her face, hovering, asking permission. "With you, I want to be different." "Why me?" "Because you're the first person in 15 years who treated me like I was human. Like I was someone worth speaking to, not someone to fear." His voice dropped lower. "Because when you told me to clean up my own mess, something in me that I thought was dead woke up again." Emma's breath caught. This was insane. This was dangerous. This was a man who could destroy her with a word, who lived in a world of violence and power. But when he looked at her like that, like she was something precious, something worth protecting, she felt something shift inside her chest. "1 month," she heard herself say. "I'll work for you for 1 month. Personal assistant, nothing illegal. Then we're done." 1 month, Dante agreed. But the way he said it sounded like forever. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Emma." "Yes." "Thank you." And he was gone, leaving the briefcase full of money and the ghost of his presence lingering in her tiny apartment. It wasn't until an hour later, when Maria brought Lily home and her daughter Toddles into the kitchen, that Emma realized what she'd agreed to. She'd just made a deal with the devil himself. And God help her, part of her wanted to see where it led. Working for Dante Moretti was nothing like Emma expected. She'd imagined dark rooms and darker dealings, violence and fear. Instead, she found herself in a penthouse office overlooking Central Park, managing schedules for legitimate businesses, restaurants, real estate, import companies. Dante was a ghost in pinstripes, ruthless but legal, or at least appearing that way. But the danger was real. She felt it in the way his men watched exits, in the tension that never quite left Dante's shoulders, in the phone calls he took in Italian that ended with someone's name and silence. 3 weeks in, Emma made a mistake. She'd been so careful, leaving Lily with Maria during work hours, never mentioning her daughter, keeping her 2 worlds separate. But Maria got sick, and Emma couldn't find a backup sitter, and she thought, just this once, just for an hour, she could bring Lily to the office after everyone left. Dante had said he'd be out all evening. A meeting in Brooklyn. The meeting ended early. Emma was sitting on the floor of his office, Lily playing with blocks beside her, when the door opened. She looked up, heart stopping, to find Dante frozen in the doorway. His eyes went from Emma to the toddler and back again. Something terrible crossed his face, betrayal, hurt, and underneath it all, rage. "You have a child." His voice was flat. "Dante, you've been working for me for 3 weeks, and you never thought to mention you have a daughter?" He stepped into the room, and Lily looked up, startled by the tension. "What else are you hiding, Emma? What else have you lied about?" "I didn't lie." Emma stood, putting herself between Dante and Lily. It's safer if people don't know about her. If my enemies don't know she exists." "Your enemies?" He laughed, bitter and sharp. "You think your loan sharks are enemies? Emma, I have people who would kill a child just to hurt me. I have rivals who would use anyone I care about as leverage. And you—" He stopped, realization flooding his face. "You brought her here, to my building, where everyone knows you work for me." The implication hit Emma like ice water. By bringing Lily here, she'd connected her daughter to Dante Moretti, made her visible to his world, made her a target. "Oh, God!" she whispered. Dante's phone rang. He answered, listened, and the color drained from his face. "Lock it down. Now." He hung up and looked at Emma with eyes gone cold and lethal. "My security just picked up chatter. Alexei Volkov, head of the Russian syndicate, knows about you. And as of 10 minutes ago, he knows about her." Emma's world tilted. "What does that mean?" "It means," Dante said, already moving, pulling out his phone and barking orders, "that you and your daughter just became the most valuable targets in New York City." Within 5 minutes, the penthouse was swarming with armed guards. Within 10, Emma and Lily were in a bulletproof SUV, Dante beside them, heading toward a location he wouldn't name. Lily was crying, overwhelmed and scared. Emma held her close, whispering reassurances she didn't believe. Dante watched them both, his jaw tight, his hands clenched. Finally, he spoke. "I'm sorry." Emma looked at him, startled. "For what?" "For being what I am. For bringing danger into your life." His eyes met hers, raw and honest. "For falling in love with you and making you a target." The words hung in the air between them, enormous and terrifying and true. "You don't love me," Emma whispered. "You barely know me." "I know," he said, "that you're the strongest person I've ever met. I know that you work 3 jobs to give your daughter a better life. I know that you're not impressed by my money or my power, that you see me, really see me, and somehow don't run." His voice dropped. "And I know that I would burn this city to ash before I let anyone hurt either of you." Emma's breath caught. This was madness. This was a fairy tale written in blood and danger. But looking at Dante Moretti, at the way he watched Lily with protective ferocity, at the way his hands shook slightly with the need to keep them safe, she realized something terrifying. She was falling for him too. The safe house was a fortress disguised as a luxury home in Westchester, surrounded by guards and security systems that could rival the Pentagon. Emma paced the living room while Lily slept upstairs, her mind racing through scenarios that all ended badly. Dante was in his study, on the phone for hours, his voice low and deadly. Organizing. Planning. Preparing for war. At midnight, he found Emma on the terrace, staring at the darkness. "Volkov sent a message," he said. "He wants to meet. Neutral ground, tomorrow at noon." "What does he want?" "Me." Dante's voice was flat. "My territory, my businesses. In exchange, he leaves you and Lily alone." Emma turned to face him. "And if you refuse?" "Then he'll keep coming. For you, for her, for everyone I care about, until I break or die." "There has to be another way." "There is." Dante moved closer, his face illuminated by moonlight. "I kill him first. Start a war that'll paint New York red. Win it, eventually, at the cost of everything and everyone in the crossfire." "How many people would die?" "Hundreds. Maybe thousands, if it escalates." His jaw clenched. "But you and Lily would be safe." "That's all that matters to me." Emma's heart cracked. Because she could see the truth in his eyes. He would actually do it. Would burn the world down to keep them safe, no matter the cost to his soul. "No," she said firmly. "Emma, I won't let you become a monster to protect me." She grabbed his hand, gripping tight.